The Goat House is back, regrading every single first-round pick from the 2024 NFL Draft. So on draft night, we graded every pick. We're going to show that original grade, and I'm going to give them a new one in this video. And it's going to be based off more than just the rookie performances because there's more factors when grading and regrading the picks. Let's break it all down. Something important to keep in mind here, this is a regrade video. We are not only or purely grading the rookies based off their performance. There are more factors. On draft day, when I give out grades, I'm grading the pick, not the player. The best players don't just get A pluses. A pluses are given out to wow, like crazy steals, but I grade the value of the pick based on, steals, reaches, fits, trades, etc. So we'll do a rookie rankings video coming up. That is purely based off the rookie performances. But the first overall pick, the Bears selected Caleb Williams on draft day. As you can see at the top, I gave the Bears an A- for that pick. Why? He was my second overall player in the draft, but we still thought very, very highly of him. It made sense that the Bears took him, so it felt like an A-. Again, A pluses are wow, crazy steals. It wasn't that, obviously, at the first overall pick. The new grade is going to be a B-, and there's multiple factors to that. Again, it's not purely based off of the rookie performance. If it was, it'd be lower grade because I thought there was a lot of struggle between Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. I think that kind of goes together. That you kind of wonder, what if they got Jaden Daniels? What if they got Drake May? They'd probably be struggling a little bit more because it just seems like that's what happens with the Chicago Bears right now. So we were all very underwhelmed with the performance of him, just not getting the ball out, taking sacks, holding on the ball a bit. But you can see here and there the talent is there. You factor in multiple things. He still has a lot of upside. You still be optimistic that he could be the guy. He can continue to grow as the Bears continue to grow, get the better coaching staff, get the better players in there. But at this point, it does really feel like it's a little bit of an obstacle for him to be the better prospect, be the better pick than Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I mean, right now, Bo Nix looks a lot better than him. I just don't think Bo Nix has a crazy ceiling. I still think Caleb Williams has a crazy ceiling. The downside is he picked up some bad habits, which seems to be a thing for Bears quarterbacks. Why are these guys picking up bad habits? But, holding on to the ball a bit, but specifically dropping his eyes, looking to scramble, trying to make a bigger play than what needs to be. And sometimes he's turning around and looking the opposite way down the field, which is definitely a no. So I'm hoping he fixes these and kind of gets rid of these bad habits. But it was a kind of a rough go. He had some good patches here and there. But overall, we got to be optimistic that there is upside there. But right now, again, it looks like there are better quarterbacks, and there are going to be better quarterbacks as we go forward. I felt like a B- was very fitting. Again, I thought he played worse than a B-, but we have to be optimistic about his upside, which still is there. So a B- for the Bears. It's not necessarily a B- for Caleb Williams. It's a B- for the Bears, picking him first overall. And the debate and the discussion will be taking him first overall over Jaden Daniels, over Drake May, guys like that. A very simple one with the second overall pick. The Commanders' new grade is an A+ for selecting Jaden Daniels second overall. And if I were to grade Jaden Daniels, it's not this video, but he would get an A+ as well. But the Commanders, what a great pick. I originally gave him a B-. I like Daniels, thought he was a good player. I just really like Drake May. I still do. I think Drake May still has more upside than Daniels, but Daniels is definitely better right now. But this ended up working out perfectly. They didn't have Caleb Williams there to decide, and Daniels being the right pick. They would rather have Daniels over Caleb Williams right now. That's fantastic. So it almost kind of looks like a steal second overall in a way. Not a mega steal, but just a great fit, leading them to the playoffs, big-time playmaker. Even if he makes mistakes, he overcomes things. He got better as the year went on. Kind of some things I saw at LSU, dropping his eyes, kind of looking to take off and run. He was doing that very, very early in the year, and he snapped out of it right away, and that elevated the whole team. So fantastic job by the Commanders and Jaden Daniels. They get an A+ for this one at the end of the rookie season. The Patriots selecting Drake May third overall. I still absolutely love this pick. Give him an A+. I actually think he's ahead of schedule. If I were to grade May based off his rookie performance, he wouldn't get an A+. There was some little things you got to nitpick on. Wish he could finish games at the end. I do think the Patriots team around him is pretty bad. But in terms of this pick, it is absolutely the right pick. He was my number one player in the draft, and I'm actually even more confident about that now because he's ahead of schedule. If you remember me talking about it, he's raw. If he plays right away, like I was good with sitting him right away. If he plays right away, he's gonna make mistakes. It's about his future. He's ahead of schedule the way he played, especially with the worst offensive line in football with the worst receiver group. He made some plays that you either just have or you don't, and that's why this is going to be a big time player. So I thought this was an epic pick at the 3rd overall pick, getting my 1st overall player, and it's sure he's ahead of schedule. So it sure looks like it. I am excited about the future of the New England Patriots because of this guy right here. So the Patriots get an A+ for this draft pick. Cardinals selecting Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. Yeah, a little bit of a tough one to grade. I'm kind of in the B+ range here. I gave him an A on draft day because it just felt like, really good elite prospect. It was the right pick. It wasn't like, wow, A+. I thought he was underwhelming, even though he was productive and he had really good moments. I thought he was a little underwhelming. Some drops, just not getting the consistent separation like some of the other rookies or that you expected from him, and just the ups and downs, like really, off games and really good games. So a little, less consistent than I expect him to be. So we're kind of in the B+ range. It does kind of seem like a guy like Neighbors is better. I mean, it seems like a guy like Ladd McConkey in the 2nd round is better. Not that they should have taken Ladd McConkey here, but it is a little tough. I expected a lot more from him, and really his only knock was, will he have some minor, durability concerns that pop up? We didn't really get to see him during the pre-draft process, so there is a little bit unknown in regards of, I guess his attitude is willing, want to play, and that wasn't a concern year one. You just thought he'd be a little more talented, but overall, I'm optimistic. Like, he's going to be a really good player. And a B is a good grade. He's going to be a very solid player. It's just hard to kind of keep it at that A right now because there could be other better receivers. The Chargers taking Joe Alt 5th overall gets an A. The original draft day grade was a B. I thought it was a good pick. I actually was very high on Joe Alt, like everyone as well. Number 1 tackle, elite grade. So I didn't have a problem with the pick. The reason it didn't get like a big time grade was because a lot of people questioned, were they better off taking a Malik Neighbors, a guy like that? They needed a big-time receiver, and could they just coach up, because it's a really good coaching staff, especially when it comes to offensive line. Couldn't they just coach up a tackle? And you can still argue that. Like today, right now, with the other receivers kind of letting them down besides Ladd McConkey, would they be better right now? You actually can argue that, but I look at long term. You look at the tackle class this year, Joe Alt, a lot better than any of those guys. You get Ladd McConkey in the 2nd round. You kind of get a 2-for-1 there. So at the end of the day, honestly, if they had Neighbors right now, you could argue today, and not saying it is, that they would be better, but long term, the future, given what they did, getting Alt and McConkey, and you could argue right now because both those guys are great right now. I think it's fantastic. I think it was the right choice. So we'll give it an A. And you could still debate, what if they got a great player like Neighbors, but they got a great player like Ladd McConkey. So we'll give the Chargers an A for that pick. The Giants selecting Malik Neighbors 6th overall gets an A on draft day. I gave them an A-. Had an elite grade for me. I thought it was a great pick. I was really in love with the idea of them because they didn't have to go up that far. Go up and get Drake May because they badly need that quarterback in the future. Consider the other quarterbacks as well. And they considered doing that, and they did not do that. And you could still argue they still badly need a quarterback. So I kind of was a little mad at them for that, but I still gave it an A- because they got a great player right around where he should have went, and they got an elite player, obviously. And he is that guy. Like, he could be the best receiver from this class. I'd say the best one just performance-wise this year probably was his teammate Brian Thomas Jr., but what he did to the Colts a week ago just shows what Malik Neighbors could do. Special talent. They need to find that quarterback. He needs to catch the ball a little more consistently, though. He had quite a few drops, but he's playing better. He started off super hot, then he had an injury, then he had some drops, and then he kind of starting to pick it up again, and he's showing that he's a elite rookie, a big-time player here. So we'll give the Giants an A for that one. You still wonder, what if they went up a little bit? I know they had to give up a lot and got Drake May. They'd be set for the future, but they are set at least with a star receiver here with Malik Neighbors. Titans taking J.C. Latham 7th overall. I was a fan of this pick. I felt like most, or if not all of the world, the draft world, was giving the Titans a F and a D or C at least for taking J.C. Latham. Not too many people liked him. I liked him, and I liked this pick. And we gave it a B+. It was right around where he should go. You thought there was some other options they could have went with, so it wasn't like a wow pick. It was just a good pick, so I gave it a B+. And that's what it seems to be. So I gave it a B+ again. Now, the way he started the year and kind of went to the mid-season, he was playing out of his mind. A top 10 rookie, and this probably would be better than a B+. Probably would get bumped up a little bit more. And he kind of, I thought I don't want to say declines, not really the right word, because he's going to continue to progress and get better, but I thought he was better through, at least it was most of the year, but through mid-season than he was down the stretch. But you see, you can make a highlight tape out of some of the blocks that he made this year. So I'm really optimistic with J.C. Latham. He's probably the Titans' best offensive lineman, which is good for him, but obviously they need to do some more work on that offensive line. So I thought it was kind of fitting to kind of keep that grade. It's like that B+, A- range, but proved a lot of people wrong, because a lot of people were ripping this pick, absolutely ripping it, and he seems to be a good one that the Tennessee Titans got. Falcons taking Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall. I've never had to grade a pick like this. It is so on draft day, they took Michael Penix, shocked the world, and took Michael Penix Jr., and we graded it much like everyone else in that range of a D-. And it wasn't, again, I don't grade the player necessarily. I didn't think Michael Penix was a D- player. I graded kind of the situation, like I always do, the value of the pick. It was a little bit of a reach, but that wasn't the issue. They put so much value in Kirk Cousins, and it kind of was contradicting, right? They took another quarterback where you thought, Dallas Turner or a corner, a pass rusher or a corner, that would help them right now as well. So it was so difficult to give them this grade. You thought Kirk Cousins, big time signing, kind of you're doing it again with this draft pick, so we give it a bad grade. So now it's still kind of to be determined. We need to see more of Michael Penix Jr., and he's had his lows, but he's dug himself out of that. He's put his team in more of a position to win than Kirk Cousins, so you see he has that big playability. Right now it looks like a much better pick, so we'll give it a B+. I still want to see more on him, but the reason for the good grade is Kirk Cousins isn't right after the injury. He's not the guy. They're going to release him. So they badly need a quarterback. Well, they drafted one here. They drafted one, and look at this year's draft. Michael Penix will be number 1 quarterback in this year's draft, along with Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy, even though we didn't see him play. So that actually looks genius right now. But what we do here, either the draft pick or the Kirk Cousins signing, one of them has to get a good grade, one of them has to get a bad grade. So we kind of flipped it. So now we go back. I think in general, how the Falcons handled the quarterback situation was pretty poorly. And that's kind of where the D- came in. But we're going to grade Kirk Cousins signing as an F, and we're going to grade this, drafting Michael Penix, as a B+. Now we're going, good thing they took him. But it made no sense at the time. It made absolutely no sense. So how they handled the situation there. So it's a weird one. I've never had one like this before, but you need to see more of Michael Penix. But even if he makes mistakes, if you find ways to keep your team in the game, you find ways to overcome them. Looking at that Commanders game, I know they didn't win. He did enough for them to win. Would like some throws back, but that's not what it's all about here. They got their quarterback of the future. It looks pretty promising, but we are waiting to see more. Another Bears pick here, taking Rome Odunze 9th overall. It's a tough one. I loved Rome. Everybody loved Rome. I thought between those top three receivers, they all should be gone before 9. So getting that good of a player, an elite prospect at 9, and the Bears badly need another receiver to stack it up for Caleb Williams. It just felt like an A. I was really on the fence. A+. Give it an A+ there. Give the Bears fans some love. They're always waiting for those. They don't really get those A+, so we gave it to them there. And it felt deserving right at the time, but man, Odunze just, it did not feel like the same player at Washington, the player that he gets open down the field, or you just throw the ball up to, he's going to go catch it. He's going to, go over the top and catch it over anyone. Sure thing hands, best in the class. He was productive here and there. He made some decent plays here and there, but it was not that same guy. Now, he was an elite prospect for a reason. I know he has that talent in him for a reason. He took a big step up 2 years ago from Washington last year. So you can imagine he could take that next step up. I'm trying to figure out who hurt more. Did Caleb Williams hurt Odunze more? Did Odunze hurt Caleb Williams more? Yeah, I guess it's debatable because Odunze, we've seen fumbles, we've seen drops at times, but perfect world, Caleb Williams needs to get the ball out earlier and give his guys more of a chance rather than very late in plays when they're gassed, running around a lot. So we'll give Odunze more of the pass here, but I just wished I saw some form of the Washington Rome Odunze at some point. So we gave this one a B-. It's kind of the B- B range, while the Caleb Williams is kind of the high end B- at the highest part, B-. So these guys got talent. They got talent. we're not going to completely drop the grade, like completely, because we know we're going to be optimistic. There is talent in there. They still have upside. It just didn't look great. Draft night does not look great for the Bears right now. We're not going to completely drop that, though. I know Odunze has more in the tank, though, but a lot of blame. Is it Williams' fault? Is it Odunze's fault? A lot of that going on there. So that obviously isn't great. But they got to turn this organization around. I think it starts at the top. Can't really get rid of ownership, but get, better coaching staff. I think the front office needs to make some better decisions as well, and then get some more players around these guys and just coach them up. Get them right, get them to where they could and should be. But we'll give the Bears a B- for this pick as of right now. And here's one, the 10th overall pick, the Vikings taking J.J. McCarthy, that we can't really give a regrade to. We can't really give a new grade to. I gave him a B+ on draft night. It was very, very obvious that the Vikings needed a quarterback. It felt like they were going to have to go way up to get McCarthy. They didn't have to do that. It just felt like a good fit, a good system where they can make any quarterback at least decent. And that's kind of been proven, not with McCarthy, with Sam Darnold, but it's kind of to be determined. Is McCarthy going to be the guy in the future? How long is Sam Darnold going to be there? It's all still to be determined. I'm confident. Yeah, it's post-injury is a little sketchy, but I'm confident as long as he gets the opportunity under Kevin O'Connell with those weapons that he could be that, it could be that B+ draft pick or maybe better, because it's a really good situation. It kind of looks even better right now, too. Because not just because the quarterback class for this year, like McCarthy, probably be number one, this upcoming disastrous quarterback class. But look at Michigan, really good defense still. Like they had really good players everywhere. Like why were they bad this year? Is really because quarterback play. Harbaugh wasn't there either. But so you kind of can make assumptions with this, but I could not give it a firm new grade for obvious reasons. With the 11th pick, the Jets took Alu Fashanu, offensive tackle for Penn State. Originally gave it a C. I wasn't in love with this tape. Big body, super physical. I thought he was going to get beat by, more of the athletic rushers, and I definitely did not want him either to the Jets to start right away. Kind of felt like a raw prospect. Just felt like a little early just based off my board. And then he had to get thrown in there, so it wasn't the ideal situation. He got thrown in there because of injuries, and he was struggling at first for the most part. But the shame is down the stretch, like at the very end there, he was starting to play better, and then he gets injured, and he's out for the rest of the year. So that isn't great. You got a guy that got thrown in too early. He's raw. He didn't really give up a lot of sacks, but he gave up a lot. He got beat on a lot of plays. If you watch the tape, gave up a lot of pressure. Rodgers just getting the ball out there. So overall, again, at the end, he was getting better. Small sample size, got injured. So it wasn't really the ideal situation. Again, just because he had a small sample size, some moments of playing pretty decent. Not great, but playing pretty decent while getting thrown in there. We bumped the grade up a little bit. I just wasn't overly thrilled with this pick. I thought there were better offensive tackles, but we'll see. He's one that's, again, long-term future. We got to see how he does in the long term, but we're going to keep there's no reason to change that grade significantly on that one. The Broncos taking Bo Nix, 12th overall. It seemed like a reach to everyone at the time because he just did not feel like a first-round player. Pretty close, but didn't really feel like it. It felt like the Broncos, hey, we desperately need a quarterback. Let's just take this guy. That's really what it felt like. So a lot of people gave it kind of a poorer grade, around a D-. But he's played way better than expectations. He exceeded expectations. He's playing fantastic for them. Maybe one of the top 10 or so rookies this year. So regrade that to an A. Here's my thing, though. Part of the evaluation is sort of right, part of it, because we said before the draft even hit, believe it or not, even though he isn't nowhere near the best prospect or nowhere near the most upside prospect, believe it or not, Bo Nix is probably most likely the most pro-ready because he's been around for a bit. He's been in multiple systems. He's very coachable. He's smart. He kind of just does his job. He doesn't do anything wow, and that's where the grade gets bumped up because he did a lot of wow things this year. So in a way, it kind of makes sense for him to be pro-ready, be able to step in and play okay. He played better than okay. It kind of makes sense, and it's still to be determined because the reason he wasn't like a high-end first-round pick or didn't belong in the same conversations with the Drake Mays and the Jaden Daniels is because he doesn't really have the upside, and that is where I don't want people to get their hopes up because he might be, we said that before the year, he might be near his ceiling right away. So, and I do think he was playing better midseason than he is playing right now. Some of these deep balls, he's putting way too much air under it. That was kind of an issue at Oregon. He's just missing some throws. That would result in wins. Look at the last couple games, but he is making some big-time plays, and he is way better than expected. But I do wonder how high is his ceiling. We could have already saw it. He is just a rookie still. He's still young, even though he's not as young as some of the other rookie quarterbacks. So he's still one I want to see long term. He's a guy that I could see get better. I could see staying the same. I could see teams figuring him out and him kind of being what we thought, he was going to be. So it's an interesting one here, but we definitely got to regrade that one for sure. He looks fantastic. He's leading the Broncos to the playoffs as we think. Week 18 is this week. So we give the Broncos A for drafting Bo Nix 12th overall. And then look at the quarterback class this upcoming year too. So he could be the best one possibly. I still think teams would probably like other guys just because I guess the measurables and things like that. But we'll give the Broncos an A for this one. Raiders taking Brock Bowers 13th overall. We liked it. We knew he was an elite prospect. It just wasn't the flashiest pick. You thought they needed several different things. They already had Michael Mayer. So it was like, yeah, good pick, but it's not super. There's a lot of questions still, so B+. But, I mean, he was out of his mind. You could argue he was already the best tight end in football, which I guess really isn't that much of a surprise. It's kind of a good example why we don't grade the actual player. We grade the pick. So if we grade the player, it'd be pointless. You just give the best players on draft night A+, and it's kind of silly. But based on how he played, and there were some questions with Michael Mayer, personal issues sitting out, you wonder what's going on there. It just looks like a genius, great value pick for the Raiders, so it's an easy A+. 14th pick, the Saints took Taliesin Fuaga. I'm going to give it a B+. We gave it an A on draft night. I think he's solid. I'm confident with him. He's pretty solid. He started the year better than how he kind of finished. He started the year super hot, and then he didn't play as well when he saw better pass rushers, but he's still solid. We love this pick because of a great fit. They needed a tackle badly with the Ramczyk situation, and then Penning not being the greatest in the world, but still could be solid and has upside besides point. This one we really liked. We kind of gave it a great, bump up from like what it would have been an A-, B+ because the fit in that Kubiak system is outstanding and it still is. I felt like a B+ was what was deserving here, what made sense for the Saints at the 14th overall pick. The Colts selected Latu of UCLA with the 15th overall pick. On draft night, I gave it a B-. We're going to keep that B-, but kind of for different reasons here. It's an interesting pick. So super talented guy. You watch his tape, it's like, all right, he's either the best or the second best pass rusher based off talent in the draft. The issue is the long history of injuries, and they're the type of injuries they were. You wonder how long he will be in the NFL, how long he will last. You didn't really worry about, you also worried about like early on injury, but it was more of how long will this guy's career be? I worry about those things. Teams worry about those things. So he was a good player. I thought there were better pass rushers given the upside, how long their careers could be. So I gave it a B-. Like a good player, so we definitely could not give it any less than that. But I thought there were more picks that made sense for them, and I really did worry about the long-term injury, which is still to be determined. So he stayed healthy this year. I thought surprisingly, like to me, if he was going to be healthy, I thought he would light it up. I thought he'd be the defensive rookie of the year. And he was a little underwhelming. He had flashes here and there, but kind of disappeared here and there. So it was a little weird. So I actually think he's kind of a little bit behind schedule. He stayed healthy. He's still a solid player with some upside. The big question with him is how long is he going to last? Be optimistic, but it's still a little bit of a question. So it was a tough one to change the grade on that one. I actually expected a little bit more year one, but I still think he's a good player and he's got some upside. So I thought the B- was very fitting. Seahawks selected Byron Murphy with the 16th overall pick. A sneaky good rookie season, like almost underrated. People aren't talking about him because people just look at the stats and they just look at the award, like who's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And he's not going to be in that conversation because he could have been a little better. He could have been more productive, but that's not the type of player Byron Murphy ever really was. I mean, he was productive, but that's not what you need him to be. He's a disruptor, and he helps guys around him, and he actually did that early in the year, little slow, then he was out for a little bit, and the Seahawks defense was awful. They could not stop the run. Byron Murphy comes back, boom. You saw that defense, that Mike McDonald defense turn around. This guy's a disruptor. He takes on double teams. He stops the run. He collapsed the pocket. He could do a little bit more of that. So was a sneaky good rookie season. It was an impact, non-production. I mean, there's some production. Impact for the defense, for the team rookie season, and that's what I loved about this. It's hard to turn around and keep it at an A+, even though I kind of want to, because I think he has a ton of upside. I think he's a great player, great disruptor, impact player. It's hard to kind of, because it wasn't, the rookie performance is factoring in this. It wasn't like a wow rookie season, so I give it an A still. I'm really confident with the Seahawks in this pick, and it was better than how people are talking right now. Not that anyone thinks it was a bad pick or that he played bad. No one's saying that, but deserves a little bit more recognition in my opinion. Another interesting one that's almost to be determined, like the McCarthy one, for the Vikings 17th overall pick, they took Dallas Turner. We gave it an A+, like a lot of people probably did on draft night, because this is a top pass rusher in the class, because of his traits, because of his production, because his ability to just not just rush the passer, drop in coverage, and just make plays, and he's still young, and again, has those traits for the upside, the long-term effect. The Vikings were not supposed to be, nobody was supposed to be able to get Dallas Turner at 17. So that is why it got an A+. Phenomenal player they got down here. Now, he didn't play a ton this year, but he is behind two Pro Bowlers. They made the Pro Bowl, Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel, behind two Pro Bowlers. And he rotated in. He played special teams as well. And when he played, looked really good. He's dropping in coverage, getting interception, tallying up several sacks when he comes in, making big-time plays. So there is no doubt in my mind that this guy is a good football player and is going to be a good football player in this defense. There's just so much talent at that position in this defense. So it's a tricky one to grade. I still almost, because I trust my evaluations, I trust the process. I think a lot of you out there trust your thoughts on Dallas Turner as well. Like, this guy's going to be good. On the Vikings, when he plays more and more, like, he's going to be really good. This is going to look like a steal at 17. But it's hard to kind of keep. I don't think it's really fair to the other picks to kind of keep that grade. So it's a little bit tricky of one to grade, since we didn't see him a lot, but we're very confident. We're very confident with the value, the steal of the pick. And when he played, he looked pretty good. I mean, he had the same production as guys that are starting and playing every snap. The more I say that, the more I'm like, maybe we should have graded some of the other guys a little lower. Latu, he's brought on the same page, playing way less snaps. So, yeah, it's one that we factor in projections with a lot of these picks as well. So, tough one to grade. B+. I think it kind of can climb over time. Bengals selected Armarius Mims of Georgia at the 18th overall pick. I gave it a C+ on draft day. He was an interesting one. If you remember me ranting about him, talking about him all draft process. Very talented, has a lot of things to work on. Like, we thought he was a good player. The Bengals definitely needed offensive line. They finally got like a big-time prospect at the offensive line position. That was good. My issue was he's super raw. We need to see a lot more, and he just hasn't been out there in college. Like, he's coming in and out of the game. You worry about durability concerns, and we talked about that pre-draft, and then you heard Nick Saban on draft night saying, hey, we think he's a good player, but every time we played him, like every time we watch film on him, it's like you don't trust that guy to be in there. He's in and out of the game. Like, you worry about the toughness, you worry about the durability. So Nick Saban kind of went in on that, and that was kind of my worry as well, that there was other tackles they could have taken, but again, high upside, good player. So C+. You can't really give it a bad grade. You can't really give it a great grade. So then this rookie year, he started the year injured. I'm going, here we go. This is going to be awful. It's going to be worse than I thought, even though he could be a good player. But that didn't last long. And he came in, he started for them, and he looked fairly solid. I think he gave up a decent amount of pressure, sacks in not a ton, but in the snaps that he played. So it wasn't perfect. It was a little inconsistent. You can have highlight moments from him here and there. We'll bump it up, though. We give it a B. I still wonder about the longevity, the durability for him, and then being consistent as well. But he has a lot of upside as long as he stays on the field. So another one of those kind of to be determined. Can he stay healthy long term? Because that was kind of the concern. The talent, the upside, never was a concern there. So it's kind of just the durability there. And a big change on this one, an easy one. A+ for the Rams, taking Jared Verse, 19th overall. And this was a guy that I was very high on way before the draft process. And the more I watched tape, I was like, good player, effective player, can stop the run, get after the quarterback. But is he at a ceiling? Is he a one-trick pony with the bull rush? That's all you saw was the bull rush. So that's where I kind of knocked him a little bit. I think it was a little bit of overthinking with him on, just kind of go with the original thought. Bottom line is, however he does it, it's a really good football player. And I still thought he was a first-round pick. I thought he was a good player. I kind of questioned the fit a little bit because he felt like strictly 4-3, hand in the dirt, defensive end, and that's really not what the Rams do. So I wondered that as well. So it was a tough one to grade, but I don't really care about the scheme fit at this point on does he have upside? I don't know if he has a lot of upside. I still don't think he has a ton of upside compared to the Dallas Turner, Chop Robinsons, but it doesn't even matter. Let's not overthink it. Like, this is a big-time player. He was great his rookie year. The Rams got a good one that worked out for them. So it's a very easy A+ for the Rams, a guy that's probably probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. There's a lot of good options, but I'd say very, very likely to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So kudos to the Rams on that one. Troy Fontenot for the Steelers. It's to be determined. Tough to give a new grade to on this one because he got hurt very, very early on and did not play after that. But yeah, really with this one, the only thing you can kind of go off of is how you think he's going to be. Like, do you think he's a good tackle? We thought he was a really good tackle. I thought, especially for pick 20, I thought he should have went way earlier. I thought he was a better tackle than Fashanu. So I'm confident with the Steelers. In that system, Arthur Smith kind of elevated that offense and even the pass protection, the offense line in general. So as long as he's healthy, it's tough that he got injured, but I think he's going to be a solid player, and maybe that could prove to be an A pick there. But again, impossible to kind of give a new grade to. Dolphins taking Chop Robinson at the 21st overall pick. If you remember from the pre-draft process, I love Chop Robinson. I think I loved him more than anyone out there because I think people knocked him because of his lack of production. But if you watch the tape, you see he had it. The elite get off that you cannot coach, the athleticism that you cannot coach. You just coach the things you can coach. It's going to be a special player. He is ahead of schedule. The only thing this is a weird landing spot. They have other pass rushers. Yes, they were injured, so that kind of made sense. And they have durability concerns, so it kind of made sense even more. But it was kind of an interesting landing spot. I gave it an A. And I was close to giving it an A+ just because I love Chop Robinson. It was just right around where you thought he would go, there, even though you didn't think he would go specifically to the Dolphins. But I'm going to give it an A+. He's ahead of schedule. I love the upside, freakish dude. Getting production, as he's playing more and more, and that's what people just look at the stats and they go, nope, you cannot do that. Here is a big time proof right here. So I'm excited about Chop Robinson's future. So much upside, and he's already getting going with the Miami Dolphins. It looks like a really good pick. Another easy A+, Quinyon Mitchell. The Eagles take him 22nd overall. Crazy, it was the first corner off the board, 22nd overall. I thought he would go, along with other corners, go a lot earlier. We gave it an A. I was right there, A+ range. I was actually surprised I didn't give that an A+, but gave it an A. Yeah, I guess the only knock on Mitchell was his physicality and press because he just didn't really do it. He didn't really do it at Toledo, and he looked pretty good in that. He looked good in terms of his physicality in general this year for the Eagles. I do think he played great all year. I think the last couple games he weren't his best. I thought he played at like a high level, like almost like a Pro Bowl corner level the rest of the year. So he's been fantastic for them. A big reason the Eagles defense is taking a step up. It looks like an absolute steal at the 22nd overall pick. Another easy one. The Jags taking Brian Thomas Jr., 23rd overall. I gave it an A+ on draft night, and guess what? I think we're all giving an A+ right now. I thought he was closer to the other group of receivers in the top three than where he got drafted or what people were talking about. I think people were talking about those three, and it's like, hey, big drop-off. No, I was saying Brian Thomas Jr. should be in that conversation, and he looked better than any rookie receiver. Is his teammate Malik Neighbors going to be better long-term? You definitely could argue that, but I thought Brian Thomas Jr. was, so far with one more week to go, was the best rookie receiver. Outstanding. They got 23rd overall. They traded back, too. This was insane. I know that the whole staff, the front office, everyone gets ripped, but that was over there in Jacksonville, but that was a genius move there. They get one of the better rookies this year at 23. Easy A+. I'm happy that we're keeping that grade. Lions taking Terrion Arnold, 24th overall. A little bit of a tricky one. I gave it an A+ on draft day because it's another him and Quinyon Mitchell. They were the top corners. They were supposed to go a lot earlier. And they dropped to here, and the Lions badly needed a corner. They badly needed a corner that can play man. But he might even be better in cover 4. So loved his upside as well because remember, he just got going that last year at Bama. The year before that, looked like a guy that wasn't on anyone's radar. Maybe didn't even play full snaps. So looks like a guy that still had a lot of upside. So I thought it was a steal, and I'm very optimistic about it still. Did he play at a B+ level this year? Probably not. He gave up some catches, some yards, but I'm still very optimistic with him in that defense. So he's more of an upside guy. But another factor in what people do not talk about, okay, the Lions, more than anyone, run man coverage. It's so predictable, man coverage after man coverage. You know how hard it is to play corner, being a rookie as well, when everyone knows you're in man coverage, by yourself on an island, play after play. So I think that as soon as the Lions start mixing up, starting to be able to run more zone coverage, which those Alabama guys are typically good in cover 4, cover 2. They can play man as well because they're usually physical. But as soon as they start doing that, he is going to thrive. He's going to get better. Remember, he only had one like anywhere near a first round grade season at Alabama the last year. So that tells you he has upside. So I'm going to be optimistic. This is more, the grade is more of a projection. And I do think he played a little better than people thought. I thought he was getting better as the year went on, got a little handsy at times, but this is one that I'm still kind of optimistic here with the Lions going forward. As long as they start mixing in some more zone coverage, it's what they need to do. Another incomplete one here. The Packers took Jordan Morgan, the 25th overall pick. It surprised some people, with the Packers really value offensive line, and they're really good at developing and coaching offensive line. I gave it a B- on draft day. You wondered because he was a tackle, but he had to move to guard because he was lacking length. Was it completely necessary to take him because they're very good at developing whoever they draft, but overall a good player, and he was going to be damn good on the Packers. So that's kind of where my thought was with the B-, but yeah, incomplete. I'm still confident with it. The Packers are very good at coaching and developing offensive linemen, so we think it's going to pan out as like around B range grade going forward, and he played some snaps, like around 150 or so. Just not enough for me to put a grade in there. Bucks taking Graham Barton, 26 overall. We gave an A-. We're going to stick with that. I think he's playing better and better as the year goes on. He's very consistent. He's not really being talked about a lot. It's almost a good thing because he just gets the job done. He doesn't really do anything. I mean, I was going to say he doesn't do anything super flashy, but sometimes he gets downfield and makes some key blocks. It's kind of flashy. So I think it's a pretty straightforward one. It's kind of the pick we expected it to be. He's good offensive lineman, helps them out in the interior, obviously, and just help them boost that offensive line in general, which they definitely needed, and it's a big reason they have a big-time offense this year. Another one that there's really no reason to give a new grade to. The Cardinals took Darius Robinson, 27th overall. I gave it a B+. I thought it was something that was a player that was a really good fit for Gannon's defense, something that they needed as well. But he missed a good chunk of the year. He's been playing recently. He has a sack. They're starting to mix him in there. It's just tough to say right now. It was an interesting pick at the time as well. No one really expected it, but I kind of liked it. It's just too tough to come up with a whole new grade, based off what's gone on so far. So we'll be excited about what we get to see him hopefully all season last year, and we'll see if he kind of live up to that B+ grade, or the Cardinals pick could live up to that B+ grade. Chiefs took Xavier Worthy, 28th overall. We gave it a B+. We thought maybe he was more of an early second round guy. We're pretty close to that. But we thought it was a fantastic fit. You knew he'd be an impact to the Chiefs, so B+ felt right. We're going to bump that up a little bit to an A-. Impact right away to start the year, then kind of disappeared for a little bit. Couldn't really trust him, making some mistakes as a receiver, catching the ball the wrong way, having running out, having a foot out of bounds, not being able to make a routine 2 feet inbounds play. So then you start to doubt a little bit. You start to wonder, did they overdraft him? But such a factor, and he's been playing great recently in helping elevate this Chiefs offense. He's just such a dynamic factor, a game plan factor. Teams got to worry about him doing different things, so he's really improving as the year has gone on. Kind of like a little bit of a decline in the middle there, but we'll give it A-. It's just a total Chiefs player that's going to help them for right now, trying to win our Super Bowl for long term as well. So we'll give that one an A-. Cowboys taking Tyler Guyton at 29, a little bit of a tricky one. I love this one mainly because we knew the Cowboys badly needed a tackle. It felt like a really good scheme fit. I loved Guyton's upside. He was definitely raw because of the limited number of snaps. I was almost for not playing him right away. Because he's an upside guy, but they traded back and got a good fit. So I was in love, factor in the value of that trade and still getting him. So that's why I gave it an A+. I wasn't giving necessarily Tyler Guyton an A+. It was more of just the value of the pick, like I do. It's a tough one to regrade because, again, he's an upside guy. He has so many, he's limited snaps. He's a freakish dude. Like, we have to kind of judge him based off long term, but it didn't go great. And then he kind of didn't, started to not start games as well. Not the greatest performer. Right away in the preseason looked good, and then at the end of preseason kind of went downhill. And it's just, you wish there was a little bit more, but again, he almost shouldn't even started to start the year, which obviously isn't great either, but he did. And more of an upside guy, so it's a tough one to kind of regrade. It's tough to give it a great grade because it did not go great, okay? But I am optimistic that he has the upside and that we'll be grading this even higher going forward. So it's a tricky one there. Ravens took Nate Wiggins, 30th overall. It was right around where I thought he should go just because of the thin frame, the durability concerns, and the lack of press reps. Can he do it? But a really, really talented playmaker, freakish athlete. So I thought a B was fitting. Good player, solid pick for the Ravens. We'll give it a B plus. I'm right there at, keeping it at a B, right around there. He played well for them. In the numbers, I guess, how many catches or yards he's led up, it kind of matches, that he played pretty well for them. You still wonder, there's plays where he's playing pretty far off, doesn't press, and that kind of hurts the Ravens. There's plays where he presses and the receiver gets off the line way too easy. So the only negatives we had on him, we see him get hurt on special teams. I'm not really sure why he's playing special teams, but that was recently as well. So the negatives are still there. The evaluation is still very, very accurate on his highs and his lows, like his positives and negatives. But he's played very well and helped them. So I thought pretty fair to put it at a B plus there. But yeah, the valuation I think is very, very accurate on what type of player he is and is going to be, and where has to stay healthy. Got to learn to press a little bit more effectively. But a really a big time playmaker there for the Baltimore Ravens in the future. 49ers took Ricky Pearsall, kind of shocked everyone, 31st overall. It felt like a little bit of a reach, was a surprising pick, but I like the fit, something the Niners didn't have, so I gave it a B-. I'll bump that up a little bit. I almost tempted to bump it up even more because he just played against the Lions. He looked fantastic. The hands, we knew about his hands. Like, they're great. He can run routes. He can get open. I had a comparison. I'm not a big comparison guy. I had a comparison to Adam Thielen, the way he plays from the slot, the way he runs his route, the way he moves his body, his hands. I think that's a dead-on comparison. It looks good. Looks like they got another Adam Thielen here. He might be a little more athletic. A little quicker as well, even though Thielen was. I almost want to give it a better grade just because how good he looked in the last game, but they didn't use him a ton during the year. I mean, he didn't start the year playing because the situation that happened right before the season. It did feel like a little bit, a little early still. Could you have taken Ladd McConkey here? But Pearsall could be that guy. So I bump it up a little bit, give it a B. We're close to even bumping it up to a B+. I just kind of, to be determined, want to see him more, but it's one that I'm excited about. This can prove to be underrated draft pick for the San Francisco 49ers. And the 32nd overall pick, the Panthers took Xavier Leggett, and I gave them a B for that. It felt a little early, but, and there was other receivers that were probably better. But again, it was the 32nd pick. They did trade up as well. We do have to factor those things in as well. And the only knock on Leggett was, will he kind of be just you use him in certain situations like screen passes, end around, just tough after the catch? Is he one of those guys? And he was productive here and there. He got separation here and there. He made some big plays here and there, but it was an underwhelming rookie season. With, some key drops where they could have won games. They could have been in better situations. And you got a guy like, Thielen's by far their best receiver, right now. And he's a guy that's towards the end of his career. And then you have Coker, who actually looks better than more consistent receiver than him. And then you have guys throughout the rest of the draft. Highlighting, guys like Ladd McConkey. Even Keon Coleman, who went shortly after this, could be better as well. So, did they take the right receiver? Is he a true receiver? I think he's a good player. I think he can catch the ball better. I think he could be good for them. It's just, again, the trade. They definitely passed on better receivers, and is he like a specific style receiver where he's not involved in every different, every scenario? So that's kind of the knock there with that one. So around the C range, for the Panthers at the 32nd overall pick. But that'll wrap it up for the regrades. Hopefully people understand the video. We will, because sometimes they don't. But it's based off of the grades on draft day. I can't grade how players are playing on draft day because we haven't seen them play. So we're regrading that. I will rank maybe the top 50 rookies based off their performance this year. So that's a different video. Maybe it would interest some of you more, maybe some of you less. We'll see. We have a mock draft coming up next week as well, along with our playoff content, full playoff coverage, picks, and a lot more. Make a full bracket right when the brackets release. We'll get to work on that. So really excited about the content we have already pumped out this year and what we have coming up here. So make sure you join us. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.